In this tutorial, I will be demonstrating how to permanently blouse your OCP pants. You're going to need some 3/8 inch elastic, same thickness as the ribbon already inside the blousing strap canal. Tape measure, some thread. Does not need to be OCP colored because it's going to be hidden inside the canal of the pant. Safety pins, items to seam rip, and a calculator to calculate how much elastic you want if you don't want to just do a gut estimate. First, you will take the circumference of your lower calf where you want the blousing strap to rest. Now that we've measured the circumference of our ankle, we're going to measure how much elastic we need. And we're going to do this by measuring the unstretched length and then the stretched length of the elastic. What we're going to do to find that elasticity factor is measure out unstretched length to 10, so 10 inches right there. How far this can stretch before it's unreasonable. So I'm at about 18 inches right now, which is really tight, but about 15 inches is where it's still taut but not likely to deform. So depending on how stretchy your elastic is will determine how little or how much you need to cut. And in the case with this, I got it from Hobby Lobby. The elasticity factor is about 0.667. So that is the unstretched length divided by its stretched length. Multiply this factor by my ankle circumference to figure out the approximate length of elastic I need. However, I'm going to add a total of 1 inch of seam allowance to the entire length so we have room to sew it. I have my 2 elastics cut, so now it's time to do some seam ripping. What makes this method so quick is we're using the channel already sewn into the OCP pant. I'm going to seam rip these blousing straps outside of the pant. We're going to do this by turning around 180 degrees from where the straps emerge and take out this seam right here. This seam can be difficult to remove, so I recommend throughout this process yanking on one of the ribbons to see if it's loosened up or not, which I'm doing here over and over. Okay, so after about 10 minutes, you should have seam ripped this seam right here. It's quite more difficult than it looked. So now we have 2 free pant legs, and we're on to threading the elastic through that canal that we just freed. When you grab a safety pin, you might think this is sufficient to thread through your elastic, but no, that is a piece of trash. You want the biggest safety pin you can find. This little thing is going to bend in half. You want this, okay? You want at least 2 inches. It does need to fit inside the pant, but the bigger it is, the easier it'll be, and you will thank me later. And it's just about the biggest you can thread inside. Yeah, that's about as big as you can get. So I'd recommend trying to find one of these. We are going to go ahead and now attach the elastic to our safety pin. I recommend doing it clasp side down. So when you're going through, you're tugging on this and not this, and then accidentally undoing the safety pin. So what we're going to do is go through one of the 2 holes here. Get that fella into the canal. Alright, he's in. So now we're just going to inchworm the safety pin through, bunching up the canal and extending it. Slowly threading more and more elastic into the pant. Something I forgot to mention is you always want that front hand on the safety pin. You don't want to let go unless you're confident it won't fly back. And I just have that back hand pushing it forward. Definitely don't want this end bit slipping inside the canal, and it won't. It's quite bunched up here, as you can see. But if you do have that wimpy safety pin with you, just so it doesn't accidentally get sucked in. On your last bit of shimmying that safety pin. You don't want to do it through this hole. You want to do it through this one so that both ends can emerge and you sew a little bit more elastic out. Let's see where you're at. Oh. Sir, where are you? Sir, please. Oh my goodness. Where are you at?
2 hours later.
Raw. Yeah, this is not for the fan part. I should get a ribbon for this. Just kidding. There we go. Ta-da. With your 2 threaded ends, we're going to take these safety clips off. Oop. We're going to hold them next to each other so they're sandwiched. And we're just going to sew back and forth like this along the width of the elastic. Something like this, so sewing the 2 ends together. I'm gonna do a few more rounds. That's all you gotta do. Once you have that securely sewn, all you gotta do is stretch out the leg, put a little extra in there, and you're good to go. Ta-da! I was keeping track of time, and by this point, only 24 minutes has elapsed. So pretty good on time. I noticed this for the first time on this pant leg. There seems to be a double layer fabric on the exit point right about here, and it was tough to get through, so be wary of that when you're threading through the end part of the elastic. Try to avoid that if possible, but if worst case, just break through like I did. Alright, there you have it, both done and in less than 40 minutes. Pretty impressive, and you imagine how much time you'll save not blousing your OCP pants. This permanent blousing method is pretty incognito. You can't really tell that you have it permanently installed, unlike other methods. So, big fan. Hope you give it a try.